should I go and see them or should I just not bother? The thought of that, I think I'm wasting like the doctor's time, or that there's people in front of me who've got worse conditions that, again, it just boils down to the wasting time part of it, not being judged. I mean, I'm not dying, I'm not dead. I can cope with it, It's like having a cold. You just get up, you get on, you don't worry about it. Also, I don't know. I mean, going to the doctor about depression. I mean, it's not something you can see. It's not like I've got a broken arm or I've got a cold or anything like that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. It seems to me like it's pointless, and it's why would you say that? Why would you even think about saying that to someone, especially a professional? Because they're just going to think straight away, well, you're an idiot. Go away. It is a small problem. In the grander scheme of things, it's a small problem. I mean, I think to myself, well, what is a GP gonna give me for it? Is he gonna give me money to sort my money issues? Is he gonna give me things to cheer my children up, or things to make my partner happier? Is that what he's gonna give me, or what's he gonna do? So why, he don't really care. I'm just another one of these people who say they got depression. I can't prove it. How am I going to prove it? There's not like a test you can do, is there, to prove it? It's just how you feel, and explaining how you feel to especially to a doctor is difficult, because it's someone that you don't know. It's a stranger, and talking about your emotions and your feelings, especially when your emotions and your feelings are up and down like a roller coaster. How do you present that to someone, especially to a professional who knows, well, supposed to know a lot about depression? How do you do that?
Okay, so previously when I was 16, I went to a GP, and it was a total opposite experience than what I had recently. He was really standoffish, and when I was explaining stuff to him, he basically just asked me if I felt like killing myself. If I didn't feel like killing myself, then there was not a big issue. And that when I told him why I felt the way I felt, he said, that's life and you're just going to have to learn to get over it. I felt like he obviously knew best, and that I couldn't challenge him. I couldn't say that, actually, I think you're being really black and white about the situation, and not every person that's got anxiety and depression wants to kill themselves. I couldn't say that to him. I just thought, right, okay, well, obviously I'm not as bad as what I need to be to get some help. And he made me feel really uncomfortable, like I couldn't say what I needed to say, really. So basically when I come out of there, I felt like I was dramatising everything, felt worse than I did before I went in there, and I got no help anyway. So I just thought all GPs were like that with mental health, and it took me until I was 29 to think about going back to the GP, and until I was 30 to actually go and see another one. And that was all because I had that really bad experience when I was 16. A couple of days before, I'd think, oh, actually, I'm not as bad as I thought I was, so I'd ring them back up and say I didn't need the appointment anymore. Because I thought initially that they would judge me and think that I was crazy and that all my thought processes were irrational, which I knew anyway, but I just couldn't stop it, overthinking things. And they would say, oh, you're not a good mum, basically, and they'd take my kids. Panicky and nervous. And I thought that I actually said to her that at the end of it, that I thought she was going to put me in a straitjacket, because I knew the things that I was thinking were so irrational, and there was no logicalness to it at all. She made me feel comfortable, to be honest. And she turned to me and greeted me, and she was really made me feel comfortable, let me talk about my feelings and stuff. And when she was telling me about what she was going to offer me, she took on board what I was saying. So she offered me counselling, but I was just truthful and said that I probably wouldn't turn up, because phoning her was a big enough anxiety for me, let alone going to talk to somebody I didn't know. So she wrote down some books that she thought that was a good idea, like self-help books and stuff, and then put me on some medication that turned out to be the right one, so I was lucky. I do feel that it was the right choice for me, because I've had this anxiety, depression, if you like, for quite a few years, and I knew that it got to the point now where I couldn't pick myself back up again. So I did go to a doctor to actually get some medication, to be honest, to help me get through this really bad phase that I was going through. And I did feel like I could challenge her if I didn't want to go to medication straight away because I challenged her on the counselling thing and she did listen to me, and it wasn't like an argument or anything. She just took my feelings on board and just moved on to the next thing that she thought was appropriate.
I'd become severely depressed. I was becoming agoraphobic, didn't want to go out, wasn't looking after myself. I was just hiding away. I knew that I wasn't right. I knew I wasn't myself, if you like. Normally I'm very chatty, very amiable to get on with. So my wife convinced me to go and see the doctor. Well, say convinced me, she bullied me. So did the kids. Really convinced me to go and see because it was affecting them as much as it was me. But I didn't see that. I think I can sort of remember saying there was nothing wrong. I was a bit worried that she'd think I was faking. I'd never been to see anybody about anything psychological. Everything else had been physical. And when I went, I was, what's the word? Anxious. I was trepidatious. I went to go in and admit that there was something wrong with me. So that was the first step of going in and talking about it. I put it off for a few times to actually go in and saying that I needed an appointment to see doctors. One reason because I didn't want to tell the receptionist what it was. That was in my mind. I didn't want to talk to the receptionist about it. They made the appointment, I think it was in a couple of weeks of making it, but I was still really nervous of going in because I didn't think I was ill. That was it. I didn't feel that I was ill, but other people around me could see it. And it was the admitting to doctors that there was something wrong. That was really hard. She's one of the best doctors I've ever seen. And came in and I told her what was up. And she sat facing me, looking at me. I was looking down and she told me to lift my head up and look at me, and she held my fingers, and I was in tears. And she was very comforting was the word, very friendly, and she said that she had noticed that there was a change from when I'd first gone in, and that I had been getting more and more depressed. And then it was a case of once she'd done that and she got me settled, she says, right, let's get something done about this. And then she went and did her medical bit, if you like. But at first she was very friendly. She wasn't condescending. She actually looked at me. She listened to what I'd got to say, and I'd say she took it all on board. She obviously knew that was something because she's known me for quite a few years now.